University of Washington, Professor Iida Keisuke, Senior Professor of the National Graduate Institute for Policy Studies, Professor Chung Han-bum, President of the Korean Association of International Studies. Please join us in the front row. And we would also like to invite all Session 1 speakers to come forward to join our fine gentlemen. Session 1 speakers, please join us in the same group photo. For speakers in Session 2 and 3, we also would like to have us join after all of our Session 1 speakers are up on stage. And now Session 2 and 3 speakers, also please join us up on stage as well. Session 2 and Session 3 speakers, please join us up on stage. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Session 2 and Session 3 speakers as well. We'd like to have us join us up on stage for the group photo. And please make sure that you are standing where you can see the camera so that we have an entire group photo all together. Maybe we can balance out the photo with one gentleman, thank you very much, joining us on the right side. Just in case we cannot see you in the group photo, we will just adjust where you are located. Interpretation devices prepared. And now I'd like to introduce our moderator who is already on stage, Professor Park In-hee, Professor in the Division of International Studies at Ewha Women's University. With that, I will turn the microphone over to our moderator.
Thank you. Good morning. I am In-hee Park, teaching at Ewha Women's University. This is my great pleasure to participate, to invite the East Asian Cooperation Forum 2026, and also this is my great pleasure to preside the Session 1. As far as I understand, the forum, East Asian Cooperation Forum, has been held for almost more than 10 years. Probably the forum changed their name once or twice, slightly changed their title once or twice, but more than 10 years, South Korean Minister of Foreign Affairs continued to pay a key attention, to pay a key interest the importance of the regional cooperation among East Asian countries. This year, the forum has been particularly designed how to achieve a better cooperation among three countries, Korea, China, and Japan. The forum has three sessions, as you see in the program. The second and third session relatively discuss non-traditional security issue and AI and technology-oriented subject. In that circumstance, the first session, this session, we will discuss traditional
remarks at the beginning, try to explain what the current status of Japan's economic security policy is above.
Do you want me to repeat the file? 파일 띄워주시죠. 잘 알고 있는 걸로 알고 있는데.
Professor Jose Carlo, so as a leader, I come back to South Korea quite frequently. So, today I present the future of the world order. There are three scenarios. I think one of the most popular is so-called the G2, raised by President Obama and President Trump, but denied at that time by Chinese government. Even some Chinese academics, like Professor Yan Xuetong from Tsinghua University, maybe they endorsed the two superpowers, multipolar world. So multipolar world led by two superpowers, that's even argument. But my position is, of course, superpowers is negative in Chinese mindset. We suffered the superpowers rival during the Cold War. Both Soviet Union and the United States, how the war to use nuclear
오늘 주최 측에서 주제에 좀 충실하게 저는 준비를 해서 기본 발표 주제를 미중 저희가 경제 구도해서 한중일 협력의 흔적이라는 주제로 제목을 잡았습니다. PPT 보여주실래요? 네. 크게 5개 발표를 준비를 해봤고요. 첫 번째 미중 경제 구도화에 있는 살펴보도록 하겠습니다. 모두들 잘 아시겠지만 미국과 한국의 미중 경제면이 가장 구도가 가장 직접적인 영향을 받는 가장 핵심적인 지역입니다. 미국은 현재 이 국제 질서로부터 국제 질서에서
the kind invitation, and my thank also goes to Jamie and her the staff team. It's
middle power politics and middle power cooperation these days, because now we consider ourselves as middle power. And because of Prime Minister Carney's call for middle power cooperation, we are sort of eagerly responding to this call. So my question to you is, first of all, does Korea consider itself a middle power? And if so, the more important question is, the characteristics of middle power politics is cooperation, engagement with international organizations, and mediation. So the last one, I'm not sure. Is Korea ready to mediate between Japan and China at this point in time?
Thank you. I believe Professor Lee, you need some couple of minutes to prepare the answer, right? 바로 대답하시겠어요? 아니면 조금 이따 하시면 알겠죠? May I ask one way, you have a question to designate who, which speaker?
First, I answer your question why there's no Eastern Asia organization for ASEAN. The reason is very simple.
Why Professor Lee is preparing the answer? Professor Wang Yue, you have the answer. The question that I raised before, why there's no universal or general comprehensive regional organization in East Asia? Okay, please.
Simple reason, because the Cold War ruled the whole world, whether Korean Peninsula or Taiwan. So anything happened in the Korean Peninsula, in the Taiwan Strait, and then it involved say, the Prime Minister Hakichi made the remarks on the Taiwan concern, and South Korea and Japan not independent enough from the United States. Even the Philippines also is an ally of the United States in ASEAN. But the majority of ASEAN countries, they are not the US ally. So they can handle the bilateral dispute with China in the South China Sea, not put all the China ASEAN relationship into the trap of the territorial disputes. I think that's the ASEAN wisdom. So ASEAN now is a major partner, trade partner for China, replaced with the European Union in the past 6 years. And also AI. Now, if you visit the Guangxi province, so Guangxi make the Shanghai, Beijing, and Shenzhen innovation for AI to implement it in Guangxi and then practice in ASEAN. So that's very important for cooperation. And so far, Japan, Korea, China is leading in the digital economy, even semiconductors, but they cannot cooperate without enough mutual trust because of the Japan and South Korea are affiliated to the US. As I said, this is a bit technology trap. I think that's a reason for that. But after Trump, maybe more independent from Trump, because Trump said, "Oh, Taiwan, you are 9,000 miles away from the United States, only 50 miles away from the mainland China." And I think President Trump also can say similar to South Korea. You also 9,000 miles away from the United States. So we are more independent. Currently, we are more independent. So that's our method about the S2 thing. The question to you, Professor Goldfriend, 20 years ago, you mentioned about, also you mentioned about the so-called dependence on time. You want, I think that dependence or mutual independence is in reality. In the digital world, everybody depends on each other. So how to make use of that independence? Is mutualized or is trust each other? I think that's the key question. No one, of course, everybody wants to be fully independent, but in the key areas, I think it's very difficult. And for economic, the majority of the independence, mutual independence, is common prosperities. Make sure we live together. For instance, China surrounded by so-called nuclear weapons, right? From Russia, North Korea, even Japan want to cross that, and then Pakistan, India. No one country like China live in so dangerous situation, surrounded by nuclear weapons. But we have to live together to make sure nuclear weapons can never be used again. So the disaster in Japan that happened again. So that's I think that Professor Zhang also mentioned about AI visualization. I think that top concern for that, not just focus on Cold War. Okay, thank you.
두 개 질문 답변 다 가능하시겠어요?
저
지금?
답변을 하면서 질문을 하는 걸로 이렇게
오케이, please.
그래서 그 한국이 미들 파워냐 아니면은 뭐 아까 제가 이제 글로벌 리스폰시블 파워 개념을 얘기했었는지 모르겠는 것 같은데, 근데 우리 전임 정부가 이제 피보 스테이트, 글로벌 피보 스테이트를 얘기를 했고 지금은 글로벌 리스폰시블 파워 얘기하는 것 같은데, 저는 기본적으로 한국이 미들 파워라고 생각을 합니다. 물론 이제 미들 파워이면서 상당히 이렇게 국력이 이렇게 정강돼서 우리가 이렇게 유사이대로 국제 무대에서 이렇게 국가적 위상을 얻었던 시점이 저는 없었다고 생각하는데, 거기에 대한 자신감이 분명히 있는 것 같고요. 제가 보기에 제가 그런 어떤 이치에서 한국이 할 수 있는 역할은 무엇인가? 저는 한국이 일본과 중국 간의 어떤 그 지역 질서 주도권 경쟁의 중재자 역할을 저는 할 수 있을 것인가에 대해서는 저는 상당히 비관적입니다. 그럼에도 불구하고 이 지역 질서에 있어서 힘의 균형 상태를 만들어내고 이 지역이 평화와 안정으로 가는데 분명히 할 수 있는 역할의 몫이 있다고 생각을 합니다. 그런 점에서 한국의 역할을 전해냈다고 생각을 하고요. 그 다음에 왕예희 선생의 질문은 제가 정확하게 지금 질문을 잘 파악을 못했습니다. 그래서 저는 질문을 조금 더 개인적으로 물어서 나중에 들어가고 질문을 하나 던지고 싶은 질문이 있습니다. 오늘 왕희 선생님께서 C2, I2, G2 이런 굉장히 재미있는 개념을 던진 것 같아요. 근데 특히 이제 C2 개념은 시진핑 정부 등장 이후에 중국이 강대국 외교와 글로벌 무대에서의 어떤 강대국으로서의 주도적 역할을 하기 위해서 일련의 구상들을 제기하는데, 그 중에서 글로벌 컬처 이니시에이티브, 그 다음에 글로벌 거버넌스 이니시에이티브 이런 개념들을 제기하면서 이른바 신문명 질서 건설이라는 구상을 공식화시켰습니다. 근데 이 얘기는 중국이 어떤 그 서구와 다른 형태의 새로운 문명 질서를 만들어내겠다는 거대한 구상을 하고 있고, 그 맥락에서 저는 글로벌 컬처 이니시에이티브나 글로벌 거버넌스 이니시에이티브를 넣었다고 생각하는데, 이제 새로운 문명 질서의 건설이라는 것은 저는 그게 중국이 선언한다고 되는 게 아니라 국제사회가 수용할 때 그것이 가능하다고 생각을 합니다. 근데 그런 점에서 중국이 현재 글로벌 거버넌스 이니시에이티브를 얘기하면서 중국식 문명 질서, 가치를 얘기하고 하는 과정에서 중국이 추구해야 될 이념적, 가치적 정량성으로 이른바 이제 중국으로 량어제허, 그러니까 중국의 전통 문화와 마르크스 레닌주의 사상, 마르크스 박사주의 이 두 가지를 얘기하는데, 그 전통 문화에서 가장 핵심적인 내용을 저는 유화 사상이라고 생각합니다. 특히 거버넌스 영역에서는. 그래서 유화 사상과 그다음 마르크스주의를 결합한 가치로 글로벌 거버넌스 구상과 가치 지향성을 방향성을 잡았을 때, 그게 한국이나 일본 국제사회 수용 가능하고 그것에 기반해서 신문명 질서를 만들 수 있다고 생각하는지 제 질문입니다. 네.
Professor Wang Yue, Wang Yue, did you take the question? Okay. I will give you just 1 or 2 minutes while you are preparing the answer. Professor Zhao Minghao, do you have any specific question would like to raise? Okay, to which speaker?
Of course.
Wang Yue, I will give you chance. Okay, after a couple of minutes. Okay. I will, yeah. Zhao, Ms. Zhao.
Okay. Yes. My question goes to Professor Ida.
Ida, okay.
Yes. Could you please help decode the rationale of Prime Minister Takayachi's Taiwan-related remarks? And how can China and Japan, mitigate the tension? Because I think given the aggressive retrenchment of the U.S. side, I use aggressive retrenchment to describe the long-term, direction of U.S. foreign policy. Japan is on the way to play a larger role in regional and international security affairs. That could pose new challenges on China-Japan, U.S. relations, and quadrilateral, including South Korea. So how Japan, envision the pathway of mitigating the long-term, maybe strategic tension between China and Japan?
Thank you, Professor Zhao. He raised very sensitive issue, including, Prime Minister Takaichi's very recent
We need to touch upon sensitive issues.
position. Okay, again, why Professor Ida is preparing, the answer. Now I give you time to answer Professor Ida's question. The leadership is something that should be accepted by the rest of the world. So leadership is not one way; it should be supported by followership. Okay, what is your answer?
This is also information about the C2. The C2 is not the clash of the civilizations. It's not that case. It's a new civilization or old civilization competition. The U.S. of course represent the old civilization. Winners take all, chosen people, the American leadership, dominant, core and preferred systems, military allies. But because of the debts, because it's also burden for the United States. So U.S. President Donald Trump asked everybody to be yourself, not without me. So you guys take care of you. NATO, the European NATO allies, you should take care of your responsibility of the security. That's because of the world need. Today is a mutual connectivity. It's not a hierarchy system. So mention about the second synergies, I think that's always happened. Why China's civilization is most consistent for 5,000 years. 2,000 years ago, when Buddhism came from India to China, also localized, channelized as a Zen. So this is also, I think, it's the first synergy with the external civilization with the Chinese tradition, culture. And then, in the modern times, with the democracy, with the science, Karl Marx came to China, also localized, channelized. For instance, the founder of the Republic of China, Sun Yat-sen, used of the people, by the people, for the people, and with the synergies, with Chinese characteristics, actually. Then Communist Party of China, to be frankly, today is the birthday of the Communist Party of China, and also my birthday. Very birthday. Thank you. The Communist Party of China now, I think it's very important to understand that the communism in China is not just a localized, channelized, with China Mao's period, which synergies with the traditional Chinese culture. Traditional Chinese culture is not one god. It's go beyond different gods like Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism. So it's the Tao. All under the Tao, there are different gods. This is different with the US, the one god. In the US dollar, in God, we trust. So that I think competition with AI model. So US want to dominate AI. The US want to, they're WASPA people, they're chosen people, they're always on the right side of the history. It's different. Actually, the world need more mutual connectivity on the basis of mutual respect and also sovereignty respect. So I think China, not China, but China taking the initiative towards the new civilization for the human beings. So that's the AI actually demand. That's I'm sure that China, Japan, and South Korea, and all other members of the United Nations can contribute together, because the traditional Chinese culture is not a US one God culture. It's most inclusive openness. It's 和和共生. So Japanese say 共生, Korean say 共生, in Chinese say 共生. That's so similar, like ganbei. So that is easy to be understood in Eastern culture. But the translation of the 共生, mutualism, in English is not that case. So I think in the AI era, we are more traced back to the Oriental civilization, so a new kind of civilization who can represent. So that's a real competition between China and the United States. Consummate.
Thank you. Very interesting answer. Anyway, congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Ethan, you ready to answer the question?
Sure.
By the way, the opinions I express in this forum are not representative of my institution or the Japanese government. Talking about decoding Takeuchi's statement, I think the sort of dispelling the misunderstanding is the better word than decoding. There is widespread misunderstanding that Takeuchi's statement meant that Japan is now ready to intervene in any military contingency between China and Taiwan. And that's not the case. Her intention was that if China uses force to take over Taiwan and the United States intervenes militarily, we are now ready to think about collective security with the United States. That's all she meant, but that sort of scenario part, China is already using military force, the United States is already intervening militarily in the Taiwan Strait. That part is just gone in the popular understanding, and then all that's left is that we are now going to intervene in Taiwan. I think what she was saying is pretty much very, very mild version of what the collective security sort of legislation we did in 2015. And at that time, Abe was already talking about these scenarios, but not as concretely as Takeuchi did last November. As for the long-term strategy of Japan, again, I am not a representative of the Japanese government, so I cannot say anything definite. But certainly we have distinct national interests, distinct from any other country, including the United States. So we have to think very, very creatively about what to do in our future. In that sense, we have to start thinking of scenarios. Our strategists are already thinking about plan A, plan A dash, plan B, plan C, and so on and so forth. But everybody says that plan A is no longer here, and plan A hyphen is maybe possible, but not very likely, and plan B and plan C are all out of the question. So the short answer to your question is that although we are trying to think very, very creatively about the future, the realistic options are very, very limited. That's the fact. We are teaching. Thank you.
Thank you, 민감한 질문이었고 민감한 답변이었는데 유익한 아카데미 디스커션이었습니다. Before we move to the audience, I have one question to Professor Zhao Minghao, since nobody raised a question to you. 최근에 시진핑 주석이 평양 방문한 거와 관련해서 하나 질문드리겠습니다. You know, the North Korean nuclear program is one of the critical barrier behind the regional cooperation with Asia, definitely, in particular on the three countries cooperation. You know that last month, President Xi Jinping visited Pyongyang, and according to the interpretation of his visit, people in South Korea simply understand whether China officially changed your position regarding North Korean nuclear program or not. Or you still continue denuclearization of the whole Korean peninsula, or still stick to the same position or not?
Thank you for this question. I think that's the most concerned topic for our friends. First of all, I would say it's quite tricky to mention and use the term of denuclearization at the current stage. Actually, US President Donald Trump mentioned DPRK as nuclear power for several times. And there is a common sense in the scholarly community that the US side is quietly abandoning the policy based on denuclearization. That's the first point. So we need to think about, because China is not the most important player in this game, we need to think about how US and DPRK can revitalize effective diplomacy, and China would be happy to see that. And actually, during the Trump-Xi Jinping summit in May in Beijing, according to the news report, the two presidents touched upon the Korean Peninsula issue, and the White House readout said that both sides reconfirmed their consensus on denuclearization of Korean Peninsula. I would say it's in China's interests to realize denuclearization, because I mentioned the term nuclear forays in this region. That's very damaging, that's very terrible for China's national security. So China has every reason to maintain its efforts for realizing denuclearization. However, we have to be realistic, because Pyongyang is so determined on rejecting any talk, any negotiation with denuclearization as kind of a goal. So I think RK President Lee Jae-myung used peninsular free nuke or other framing to iterate its policy goals. It's very wise, very smart. Second thing, in past few years, China has been supportive of UN sanctions on DPRK. That's reality. In past several years, China has been supportive of UN sanctions on DPRK, and Pyongyang is not happy with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Very understandable. Let me open the question to the people in the floor. 한 두 개 정도 질문 받을 수 있을 것 같은데요. 한 교수님 괜찮으면 젊은 학생들 질문을 좀 받아볼게요. 저쪽에 있는 저기 지금 그 마이크 있죠? 모바일 마이크로폰 있죠? 네, 질문 하나 받겠습니다. 간단하게, please identify yourself and please, just give you a simplification, okay? As
Yeah.
well as your passport.
네, 한국어로 하겠습니다. 안녕하세요. 저는 중국 상하이의 화동사범대학교 East China Northern University에서 중국에 대해 공부하고 일본 문화를 좋아하며 한중일 협력에 관심이 매우 많은 김민서 학생입니다. 저는 우선 북단대학교 자오밍하오 교수님과 중국인민대학교 왕이웨이 교수님께 질문드리고 싶습니다. 지난 11월 다카이치 사나이 일본 총리의 대만 유사시 기입 발언 이후 중일 갈등이 국가된 상황에서 그리고 현재 대한민국의 이재명 정부는 중립적 균형 외교를 지향하고 있습니다. 이와 관련해 현재 중국과 일본이 직면하고 있는 상황과 갈등에서
Professor at the Business School of Hitotsubashi University, Japan, and he has really diverse professional background. He used to work as a professor at Texas A&M University, also professor at Stockholm University in Sweden, and also he worked at Nomura Research Institute. And he is in
A warm round of applause.
안녕하십니까. 외교부 차관 박입니다. Professor Hayoung-Chul of University of Washington, Professor Jackson Go of Peking University, President John Han-dong of the Korean Association of International Studies, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to the each wise man for taking time to attend the 2026 East Asia Cooperation Forum. Drawing on a history of exchange and economic interconnections, East Asia had pursued a path.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my great honor to say a few words at the opening session of the 26th East Asia Cooperation Forum. The theme of this year's forum, East Asia, connecting, sharing, and prospering together, could not be more timely and forward-looking.
Right. East Asian night is the right coming from Seattle. I'm not used to a keynote speech, frankly. So usually I start joking, saying, in my speech, there's no key, only note. So if I am repeating the same pattern, please understand why I did that. Right. Actually,